Carolyn Rivera here from mining.com.au. Joining me today is Akora Resources Managing Director and CEO Paul Bibby. Hi Paul.
Hi, how you doing? Thanks, Carolyn.
Now Paul, news out from your Bekisopa project in Madagascar. The company's upgraded the direct shipping ore tonnes and grades from infill drilling last year. So run us through the results. Were they in line with your expectations?
They are, certainly are. We completed 86 infill drilling holes last year in a known area in the Southern Zone at Bekisopa. And the aim was to get at least an indicated resource, which we've delivered today in the announcement. We've had an increase of over 30% in the inferred resource to 5.5 million tonnes. And within that is a 4.4 million tonne indicated resource, which will be sufficient for us to go and do further studies on the Bekisopa DSO startup project.
And at the Bekisopa Southern Zone, the company has defined a high-grade green steel resource. Define green steel for us, and who wants it?
Yeah, no, okay. Firstly, this piece of the announcement was all about DSO originally. Direct ship ore, which is generally a low cost, low operating cost way to get into the iron ore production. What our engineers at Wardell Armstrong did was look further below that DSO at surface, and they identified within the original resource a high-grade section of fresh rock, grading 45.3% iron on average, and upgrades to 68.7% iron concentrate. And that is very suitable for green steel. So green steel is the future. At the minute, iron and steel production produces 7 or 8% of the world's CO2 emissions, because the reductant in the blast furnace is coking coal, carbon. So we need to move away from those and power the steel making process with renewables, wind and solar and batteries. And then in the steel making process, use materials other than the traditional coking coal, like natural gas or ultimately hydrogen, so we don't have the CO2 emissions. For that to happen, the quality of the iron ore needs to improve dramatically from what it is today. Typically today, iron ore is 62% with 8 or 10% impurities of silica and alumina. Because we're not using coking coal to remove those impurities and also reduce the oxygen to produce the iron, we need a higher grade product. And the product at Bekisopa, as we've discussed in our announcement today, at 68.7% is ideal, better than the 67% specification for green steel. But more importantly, it is very low in impurities of silica and alumina, under 2%. So that means it's going to be an ideal feed material for green steel. So that's, I hope, explains the green steel part. And I think you also asked who's after this. It's already being used around the world, but not necessarily in the green steel mode, using hydrogen and natural gas. So in the Middle East, for example, with the abundance of natural gas, they're producing high-grade, what they call direct reduced iron pellets from this high-grade concentrate as an improved feed material for the blast furnace. I read today that in Europe, where a lot of the work is happening on green steel in Sweden and Germany and places like that, they've just started a $2 billion fund with ThyssenKrupp, the big steel maker, looking to use hydrogen to produce green steel. So it's starting to happen. There's already been production of green steel product for the automotive industry in Europe. And what they're seeing as a whole industry is the need to go green, not just in making steel, but having the feed materials for their automotives, the Mercedes-Benzes and the Audis and the like, and the VWs, to be green as well. So in the coming years, this type of concentrate is going to be highly sought after.
Yeah, it sounds like very interesting stuff, Paul. You mentioned earlier the results will feed into future studies. Can you elaborate on what the company's next steps are in terms of planned works programs and feasibility studies?
Certainly. So we're at the moment preparing drill pads at Bekisopa. The current piece of work has been in the southern zone of the 6-kilometre strike. So we've got drill pads being prepared in the northern and central zones at Bekisopa, and drilling will start within the month to do more shallow drilling to prove up more tonnes of DSO at surface material. So that's part A. And also, because of the results we've just completed, we've got Wardell Armstrong, our engineers, looking to do a scoping study using this indicated resource to define the capital and operating costs to go forward to go into production potentially in the coming years, and start with DSO, make a good margin, and then transition into the green steel as the demand for that product increases in the coming years.
Paul, thank you so much for your time today.
No, thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity.